In this video, we are going to be doing 4 examples. We are still busy with taking out highest common factors. Let's have a look at the first one. In this case, 6. So there is term 1, and there we've got term 2. If I look at that, I don't see a common factor at the moment, but I see potential. I hope you do too. We can see that that bracket over there is x minus 5. And for the second bracket, we can see, okay, but wait a minute, if I can just swap those two around, then I am going to have a common bracket. But we can't just swap things around. We need to make sure that it is mathematically sound and that we're not changing to the sum. We're just rewriting it in a different way that suits us. So I know that there's a shortcut, and we're going to get to the shortcut just now. I'm sure you know it. But let's just see how that works. Where does that shortcut come from? Well, if I've got 5 minus x, and I actually want to write it as x minus 5, we are just taking out a negative 1, a common factor of negative 1 out of there. Why does that work? Well, currently look at the signs. There's a positive there, and there is a negative there. So if I take out the common factor of negative 1, I am not changing to the sum. If I multiply that back out, I still have that. And if I multiply that back out, I still have that, a positive. So I'm not changing to the sum. I'm just rewriting it in a way how I want to write it. So I'm going to say that again. If you take out a common factor of negative 1, then you can swap those two around. It is mathematically sound. And that is where the shortcut comes from. Because of that negative 1 that we took out as a common factor, the sign in front will change. So let's use the shortcut. Over there, we just copy that over. If we change this around, then we took out a common factor of negative 1. So then that sign will change in front because the negative 1 will change the sign. Now, the brackets are exactly the same. So we take that out as a common factor. There is my common bracket. In the first term, I'm left with 2x. In the second term, I'm left with 3. And there we are done. So let's just quickly recap using the shortcut. When I want to swap my brackets around, my 5 and my x, the sign in front needs to change. And then I can do that because it works. It works because we took out a common factor of negative 1. And that's why the sign changes, and that's why we can swap it around. Let's look at the next one. So I'm just highlighting what I see students now mess up, because in our maths, when we just think we get something, then we feel like they're throwing an exception at us. So let's just look at this one over here. We've got our two separate terms. There we go, term 1 and term 2. At the moment, it doesn't look like there's a common factor, but if we look closely and we look at those brackets, they are actually exactly the same. Now, you might say, okay, but wait a minute, I need to swap that around, and then the sign in front needs to change. But we're not going to change the sign in front. Why not? Because there is a plus in between. Let's take you back all the way to primary. If you've got 2 plus 3, that gives you 5. And if you've got 3 plus 2, that also gives you 5. You need to know those properties. It doesn't matter for addition, but for subtraction, it won't work. If we've got that, and if we've got that, we get different answers. So that's why we can't just swap it around like with the first example when there is a minus in between. But with this one, we are adding, so then we can just literally swap it around. So I've seen students get this wrong many times. So we can do that for addition. We can just go do that. And now we've got our common brackets. We take out the common bracket and our leftover in the first term and our leftover in the second term. And there we are done. For the next one, oh, that should be an 8. And this would then be a 9. Sorry. Term 1. Term 2, don't go and start multiplying the 4p in. We are not simplifying, we are factorizing. So we can only take out common factors. I also put this one in because I've also seen students get this wrong. If we look at what's going on over there, we've got a y, and we are subtracting 2, right? But note what's going on over there with the first bracket. With the first bracket, we've got y, and we are subtracting 2. In the second bracket, we have got that. Can you see that these are actually exactly the same? If we look at the signs, that sign is still the same, and that sign is still the same. So if we swap this bracket around, we do not have to take out a -1 as a common factor because we are staying true to those signs. We are not changing it. If we compare it with the first one, I do want to show you this. With the first one, we had that. We can't just write it as that because note, we're not staying true to the signs. There's a positive and now it is negative. And when that happens, that is when we take out the common factor of a -1 so that we're not changing to the sum. But in this case, we don't have to. We don't have to take out a common factor of -1. We are staying true to the signs, so we didn't change anything. The sign in front won't change. We've got our common brackets. There they are. We can go ahead and take out the common bracket. The leftover in the first term would be 4p, and the leftover in the second term would be 1. Remember? That coefficient of 1 there. There isn't nothing left. There is 1 left. Okay, last one. Number 9. There we've got term 1, and there we've got term 2. So let's investigate. So, well, we've got a minus there in between. So that means we can't just swap those brackets around. They are almost exactly the same. If I swap those two around, then they will be identical. But if I swap that around and it becomes y minus 4, then it means that we are not staying true to the signs. The sign of the y changed and the sign of the 4 changed. So in other words, this is one of those examples where we have to change the sign in front because we swapped the brackets around. We took out a common factor of -1. All right, there we go. Now our brackets are identical. We changed the sign in front. Now we can take out our common bracket. Left over in the first term, left over in the second term, and there we are done. So grade 10s, just take note when you have to do the sign change, when you don't have to do the sign change, and then you will be fine.